Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Plecci, and today I will be the moderator for the euthanasia debate. Well, firstly, I'd like to introduce you on the topic of euthanasia. Euthanasia, also called mercy killing, is the intentional practice of ending one's life as to relieve pain and suffering of a person who is terminally ill. The history of euthanasia stems from historian Centenius' description of Emperor Augustus's death, as quick and without suffering in his wife's arms. Well, there are several types of euthanasia. Firstly, we have active versus passive. Active euthanasia is a doctor who directly ends someone's life. Passive euthanasia includes withholding or limiting life-sustaining treatments so that a person passes more quickly. There's also the difference between voluntary and non-voluntary. Voluntary includes if someone makes a conscious decision to seek help with ending their life, and they demonstrate full consent. Non-voluntary involves someone else making the decision to end someone's life, which is usually done by a close family member. Euthanasia in Canada, in its legal voluntary form, is called medical assistance in dying, and became legal alongside with assisted suicide as of June 2016 to end suffering of terminally ill adults. The Declaration on Euthanasia is the Church's official document on the topic of euthanasia. A statement that was issued by the Sacred Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith in 1980, Catholic teaching condemns euthanasia as a crime against life and a crime against God. You might be curious as to how it is administered in Canada. Well, in Canada, euthanasia is administered by a nurse or practitioner who administers a substance that causes death to a person who requests it. It can also be administered by a physician or practitioner who prescribes it to a patient as a substance that they can self-administer to cause their own death. In Canada, bills are currently being passed that are expanding euthanasia. The House of Commons is working on passing Bill C-7, which is opening assisted suicide to the mentally ill. Well, now that you have a brief understanding, I would like to direct your attention to the pro side of the debate. Thank you, Moderator Joseph. My name is George, and today I will be presenting 5 arguments on why I believe euthanasia should be legal in Canada. Well, my first argument is that legalizing euthanasia would help alleviate suffering of terminally ill patients. It would be inhumane and unfair to make them endure their unbearable pain. My second includes that the right to die should be a matter of personal choice. We are able to choose all kinds of things in life, from who we marry to what kind of work we do. And I think when one comes to the end of one's life, whether you have a terminal illness or whether you're elderly, you should have a choice about what happens to you. My third argument can include that in cases of individuals who are suffering from incurable diseases, or in conditions where effective treatment wouldn't affect their quality of life, then they should be given the liberty to choose their own death. The motive of euthanasia is to aid in dying painlessly and should be considered and accepted by law. Although killing in an attempt to defend oneself is far different from mercy killing, law does find it's worth approving. Plus, healthcare costs will always be a concern for the family who may not be able to afford to keep their loved ones on life support. My final argument includes how since the law in Canada allows euthanasia and is even making it more accessible to people through the use of Bill C-7, why is it bad? If the law recognizes it, why should it be morally considered wrong? Well, thank you for hearing my side of the argument. Thank you, George, for informing us of your side of the debate. Well, now I'd like to present 5 arguments that support my side, which is anti-euthanasia. My first of 5 arguments can include how the ends can never justify the means, as in the case of any moral decision. Whenever the means used to achieve a good goal are evil, the entire process must always be seen as morally evil. If the goal is to alleviate one's pain, but to do that you must kill them, then the entire process is morally evil, as you took one's life, breaking a commandment. My second argument includes the bioethic of a seamless garment. Life is sacred and must be protected from womb to tomb, from conception to its natural end. Our lives are sacred and should not be under the control of man. We are not to decide to take a life, but we should instead work to protect it. My third argument is as St. Paul says, if we live to the Lord, and if we die to the Lord. We are not the ones who decide who should die. That is up to the will of God, our Creator. My next argument is how the act of euthanasia is neither easy nor peaceful. It is a difficult thing to do, and medical personnel is adversely affected. For example, we can look to Belgium, where doctors are entitled to psychotherapy after euthanizing a patient. It is not uncommon to see Belgian nurses take a day off when they know that euthanasia is planned for that day. They can become psychologically scarred from these events that will play on their mind forever. they may never be able to forgive themselves for causing someone to die. My fifth and final argument includes how all life is God-given. We are created in the image and likeness of God. Birth and death are part of the life processes which God has created, so we should respect them. Therefore, no human being has the authority to take the life of any innocent person, even if that person wants to die. Well, thank you for listening to my side of the debate. Now we will pass it back to the moderator. Thank you to both George and Fred for displaying both sides of their arguments on the debate of euthanasia. Now I'd like to give you guys my view on the matter. According to the Roman Catholic perspective, we are not obliged to ward off death at all costs, but we should not deliberately intervene to bring about death. The sanctity of life principle, which rests on the human person's unique relationship with God, is the basis of the Church's honoring of human life as a basic value. Under this principle, direct intervention to end the life of a patient in a terminal condition would not be condoned. This negative position also follows from the religious principle of divine sovereignty, the idea that God alone is Lord over life and death, and the end of human life is not subject to a person's free judgment. We can also look at the bioethic principle that all life by its very nature comes to an end. Given that the above is true, a deeply rooted desire to prolong one's life, while understandable, is only futile when artificial means are used. In other words, Catholics, while encouraged to take good care of their lives, are not compelled to use extraordinary means of survival so as to prolong one's existence beyond its natural course. Ultimately, we should seek to promote lives. God has a plan for us all and knows what's best for us. We should not interfere with it. Instead, we should be the best people we can be and ensure that our soul is prepared for if ever that time were to come. Thank you for listening to this debate, and I hope that you learned more about the issue of euthanasia in Canada and in the world.